Live from the Pathway Studios in Johnston proper. You are live from the path.
And you're listening live from the Path. We're coming to you from the Pathway Studios here in Johnston.
What was that?
What do you mean?
Was that kind of some kind of weird scat you just
to
did?
show out with some jazz this time.
Hey, it was a mistake. Hey, thanks for hanging out with us for Live from the Path. Hey, check this out. There was an article on Christianity Today. It said Christians debate paying tithes to African churches closed by coronavirus.
What?
Wait, what?
So I think people are worried about, like, when churches are closed due to the virus, they're worried about sending money overseas. I'm sure you guys send money overseas. Dan, does this cross your mind?
I mean, we send to the American headquarters, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they wire stuff over once a month, so they know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because they're in daily contact. So no, I guess I'm not worried.
Yeah, well, like this is the time where they got real problems.
Yeah, they kind of like it's kind of like here. It's like, well, because you're not having church doesn't mean like the preacher doesn't still need to like eat and stuff.
Right.
Right.
I mean,
Right. You're still probably, you're still heating and cooling the place, or to a certain extent. And
Is that a part of the conversation? Like, are tithes way down because of this deal? I've heard places are. I mean, ours are actually up,
yeah,
but
That's awesome.
they would pay more money not to see you in person. yeah, they're like, this is great.
Man, this online content is phenomenal. It's like a podcast I pay for. This is great.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about the online?
Sorry, Dan.
What's funny about the online preaching situation is I actually find it allows you to have a little bit more of internal discussions, like with your own family, like when the guy's talking, because you don't have to worry about interrupting them or because of the atmosphere. Like I can look over at one of my kids and go, do you understand what he's getting at here, and blah blah blah, and they're like, oh yeah, or no, I don't quite understand it. And so like it gives a little bit more freedom of being able to talk about it without like causing a disruption. And so like I don't know that that's all bad, right? It's kind of nice, so you get to walk through it as you're being led as a family, and then as the leader of that particular area, I get to go. So do we understand what's going on here, right? What exactly we're talking about, and we can hit the things that are important. I can watch my kids spacing out and go, whoa, hey, this is why you're spacing out because you don't think it's important, but this is why you brought it up, And so like I don't know, I thought it was okay. It was okay. It wasn't devastating or terrible or God's word not preached or anything. So I thought it was actually all right. It's going okay for us.
Yeah, Dan, you guys have been doing that for a few weeks.
Yeah.
What's been your reaction?
I kind of like it, to be honest. I mean, it's weird, like from a personal side, to wake up and think, "Hey, I'm going to hear me preach today."
Right.
Because I've uploaded it previously, so
Right.
there wouldn't be any
Snafus.
or whatever. But it's been, and in that sense, it's kind of neat if people have conversation. I can be part of the conversation while I'm teaching.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, like, this is it. I meant this or that, or or here's clarification or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you watch yourself preach or listen back to your old sermons very often?
No.
Like, as you get a chance to like reflect on the thing, do you go, actually I could have probably phrased that differently now that I hear it coming out this way?
Yeah, I mean, I have before. Like, if I thought something was exceptionally good or exceptionally bad, usually, I will just like, what made me think that?
Yeah.
Because usually by Sunday afternoon, I've already thought of, I could have done this or could have done that. And well,
Right. It's already too late now. I mean, there's no reason to live in the past here.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's an interesting dynamic. I think what's happening is people are just missing people, though. Because you can hear a sermon sitting in a pew or on a computer, or you can hear teaching anywhere. That's nobody's missing me, or maybe me as a person they might be, but I mean not like no one's like, boy, sure you. They can hear me anytime they want. We have a YouTube channel.
Yeah. Right.
But would you say, like, in general, I don't know that many people that do. Like, I mean, once again, like, I hang out with a crowd that listens to podcast sermons or whatever, and like they will listen to teaching throughout the week. I wouldn't say that's the norm. I wouldn't say like there's a bunch of people out there, digging on online content all the time, and listen to sermons all the time. So like now, so where I see it as regular because I do it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like most people? It's a change for a lot of people.
I don't know. I think there's a core that does. There's all That's why these guys have thousands of views. You know,
Right.
I mean, it's I suppose they could have a.
Like their mom's clicking on it a bunch of times.
Exactly.
To up the number.
I love him.
But
Where he goes off auto.
I mean, that's a fairly popular thing. I know a lot of people who will just have a podcast in their car while they're driving, or whatever. But it's still detached. It's like, well, I've never met this guy. But I like his teaching, so I'll listen to it.
Right.
But it's the local church. I think the smaller church will thrive through this whole thing more than the larger churches. I know I've heard of some larger churches are already starting to cut salaries and staff, and they usually are pretty much on the margin anyway.
Yeah.
Because they're always staffing, aggressively.
Well, and almost a good amount of their staff is community outreach stuff, right? Like youth minister and blah blah blah, and like greeter and head dude and head secretary. Like,
Head
really going on
dude.
here.
I want that job.
I was
The guy in a
actually thinking
bathrobe.
about this a little bit because I had to lead worship through the video. Boy, it is just awkward as all get out. Just super awkward, right? Like the song goes away and dies out, and then like that's it. There's nothing going on. It's just me and my kids and my wife, and I'm like, well,
There we go.
here's the next one.
Let's fire up the next two.
Yeah.
You know what's been surprising for that? Because we've done. So we were on the other end of that for one. But we've been listening to Ren Collective has done a socially distant worship club for like the past 2 to 3 weeks, and they'll just get like. First, it was like four of them in a living room, and then the laws and stuff in Nashville got a little bit tighter, and so now there's got 2 of them. But like watching a worship thing, I thought, man, this is gonna be weird. It's been great. Now it's not it's different than a music video. I don't sing along with music videos.
Yeah.
Someone produces a video or something, or puts on what's obviously a performance. I don't feel at all like I need to go sing along with that. But like intentional worship where 4 people sat in the living room and there's just one dude with a guitar and they're all singing. So like you feel like it'd be super awkward because you were in our living room and it's my wife and I and we got 4 kids. One of them's yelling, screaming and stuff, and the other 3 are kind of like casually watching. But like they're singing too, and like it doesn't feel weird to me to sing at a reasonable volume, or maybe even a little bit beyond, singing worship with people who said, look, we're not putting on a performance here. We're here to worship. I'm like, great. I'm here to worship. We can do that. And that same thing happened on Mike for Sunday morning. So you did it, and it was just your family, and we can see your family, and you're playing along. And there's this. I don't take this wrong for anybody, but like, there's nothing produced about it, right?
Oh no,
it's intentional.
The
People
dog's
sitting
in
down
there.
and saying, look, we're just worshiping here, and so you don't feel beyond it. You can feel part of it because it looks like something that you might be a part of.
No, that's true. It looks like your place. It looks like something would happen at your house.
And that was the thing. I remember we were talking about this a couple weeks ago with churches and choosing whether or not to do worship. And like that's one of the things that was in my mind is like if it feels produced beyond what they would normally see, and it feels something like it'll feel like just something you're not part of anymore. When if it feels, I almost am afraid, like even getting external microphones or better lighting in your area, if you're not a church who otherwise does that, it starts to separate people from it because that's not what they're generally part of. Now it becomes a performance, and people worship differently. It's the mid-grade performances that are tough. It's the giant stadium performances. People are all freaking in. The casual things in your living room, people tend to be all in. It's the middle performance that are so tough to get and to get right and to get people feeling comfortable because they don't know what to. It's not the performance fault at all. It's just people don't know what to do. Am I in or am I listening? Am I part? Or am I contributing? Or could I be too loud? And the person next, like, it's just a weird thing. Anyway, so I will say that Socially Distant Worship Club was cool because like they're just got cell phones. Like they're broadcasting to 3 network to like Instagram, Facebook, and I think those 2 at the same time. And you're like, oh, I wonder what kind of text going on there. They've got two of the wives that are just holding up phone, pointing around, and you're like, that's exactly what I would have done. I feel part of this. So anyway, it's been great. Like it's been. I think obviously I prefer being around people, but like as long as you're genuine in how you, as a church, as you go about this, I think it's fine. I think there's a way for people to feel that way.
And I think it's probably not going to like reach the masses. Like I think at first churches thought, oh, finally, we're on the World Wide Web. You know, people are going to be listening from China. And it's like, no, they're going to be listening because they know you.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right.
you know, and
Which is great, which is
Yeah.
still fine. Like,
Yeah.
you're still the local church. There's value in the local church. In fact, I think there is distinct value in the local church. And that's why, and we talked about this a little bit ago, there are millions, literally millions of guys who will do a better job teaching than me. But my folks still want to listen to me. Same thing with you, Dan, right? Like, just if you have any humility in the world, you're like, I know there's people that are better than this, but there is something so unique that God has created in the local church that it matters that Dan said it. It matters that he studied it. It matters what he thought about it. It matters that God spoke through him to say this thing. Even if the guy in Texas or Los Angeles or London is just the most eloquent speaker in the world, he's not Dan.
right.
And Dan is the one that is caring for us, and it's so distinct, and so like that I think is the wrong thing. Like sometimes stuff reaches the masses, and that's great, but like if you posture for, if you aim for the right target, if it needs to go beyond that, God will take it beyond that. But like as long as if you stick with what you know that you're responsible for and what God has you doing, it'll feel right for those people. And then it'll probably translate well for the other people that start listening on it. And because that's what you want them to catch anyway. You don't want them to catch you posturing for 10,000 people. You want them to catch your community feel, because that's what you're asking them to join in, not just the thing that you're teaching. Because again, they can get that other places. I think it's good. I think it's a good exercise for the church, and frankly, it starts to weed some things out on what we think, and maybe even eliminates a thought that, oh, hey, there's a giant bucket of opportunity that I'm not reaching. I think proper humility is you go 4 to 6 weeks of this and you're like, no, that wasn't really a possibility. I was never actually going to reach them. Now I'm digging in on these are my people.
That's how I feel about this show.
Exactly.
There's a hardcore 20 people that love it.
Nope, that's as far as we're getting. Yeah, hey, don't stop giving to the African churches, man. Those guys are in a pinch. Just like every church is likely to face a pinch here. And some of that refining, I think, is probably good. It causes you to ask, what do we really value? What is paying? Where do we have our money directed? But like for a lot of churches, like that's the felt. You're not carrying a lot of excess, and people don't need you to give above and beyond. They just need you to give faithfully, like you would have if you were there, and you're probably going to be just fine.
I mean, shouldn't churches be seeing a slight heating and cooling savings and cut down on donor purchases and, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, you're not obviously you're paying for an infrastructure that's not currently getting used.
That's not most of your money, though.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
Most of your
Donors-
money's the building and the salary. In fact, the vast majority of money's probably
Yeah,
salary.
but those were already built into the budget.
Well,
right?
but yeah, people have to give money to cover the budget, man.
Yeah, tithing is up.
Well, for Dan.
Dan and everybody.
A lot of churches, they're not.
It's up.
a lot of
It's up
churches are.
across the board.
No, it's not. It's not.
Numbers are up, man.
It's not up.
Have you seen
what
the
helps
stock
us
market?
is we've been doing online giving for forever, you know, so most of it comes online.
Yeah.
And
You're benefiting from people forgetting that they signed up for the weekly tithe.
yeah. I mean, honestly, we've had people leave the church 2 years ago that still give, you know, and I'm like, huh, okay.
Yeah,
I
great.
mean, that's true. I was subscribed to an online game that I haven't played in 5 years, and I didn't cancel that
They're
until
fine
like
with that.
3 months ago.
Yeah, they're like, great.
Yikes.
I mean, I've had that before, and I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with it too. I intend to still give. What do I care? Okay, hey, you're listening live from Bath. Thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah, you know what?
We're celebrating our 10-year anniversary.
We are celebrating. So I've been I loaded up some Facebook posts. I actually legit style decided I'd put some celebrate our 10 years, and so I've been trying to share a clip a day, probably for the whole month of April is the goal. And so if you don't like the Facebook page, go out there and just hit a like. You can. It's hard to say greatest hits. It's just
The stuff that happened.
yeah, the things we were around for.
It's also
These
good.
are
It's
in the
hard
past.
to be best,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you know what was interesting is I was looking through a few clips, and like there were a few where I thought Buva probably has never heard this. Like your familiarity with the show and how often you were coming, some of the clips happened before you were doing that.
Uh-huh.
And so like one of the ones was that Methuselah went to Nineveh and God smote him song.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That
I
one
made $5 on that deal.
Yeah, that's coming up. That's coming up in like another 3 to 5 days, I think, on the Facebook post.
It's one of the favorite things that my wife says. It's one of the favorite things that I've ever done across my whole life.
Really? That's
Wow.
it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can tell you can see
Wow.
what the benchmark is.
Now I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, you guys were on for what, a year at least before I started coming, right?
With any consistency, I think it was 2.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So
man,
so yeah,
that's crazy.
there's a few musical guests. There's a few. I don't know if Pooh Tracker will make it into the rotation.
Oh,
I know what that is, but no, I never watched that. We've talked about it.
Here's the deal. I like to think that I would look back at it and be slightly ashamed of myself, but I'm
No.
pretty sure I wouldn't.
funny.
I'm like, well, that was funny.
Wasn't it in London? Wasn't that the thing? Like the poo tracker was in England?
Yeah, like you could track it and see once
That's
you
what I
flush the
thought,
toilet
yeah.
where it went.
Okay.
Yeah, that was great. Actually, that was the same episode as the Methuselah went to Nineveh. It was
Man, that might make the greatest hits.
yeah, it was a
Something
lot.
was in the water that night.
Yeah, something,
Hopefully not poo.
something going on. All right, let's see here. There was another. I thought there was another article that I thought was interesting.
There usually is, Ben.
Yeah. Sorry. Nope. Don't care about that. Don't care about that.
Well, I don't think we're going to care
Oh,
about
for
it.
heaven's sakes, Graham. Listen to that guy.
Who?
Franklin Graham says coronavirus pandemic is result of a fallen world.
I mean,
Oh, my gosh.
as much as anything is.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean,
Right. We are.
everything is.
The fact of the matter that we're in a fallen world is true, yes.
I mean, so is Boova's hairstyle.
Agreed. It's insane.
Leave me in this, Graham.
Hey, man.
Tell me what
Don't
the
you
deal
judge
is.
me. It's awful. I don't even remember what outlet of social media it was. There was a video of this old dude that looked like he had just gotten Botox. And
Oh, I know what you're talking about. It's
he,
Copeland.
he was like,
man.
it's who?
Kenneth Copeland.
Kenneth Copeland.
Okay, he was like rebuking coronavirus.
Yeah.
And like yelling at it, saying it has no power anymore. And,
used to watch him
And
when
the
I was in
congregation
college.
was repeating after him everything
Yeah.
he said. It was the most uncomfortable
went,
thing I've ever seen. Yes, yes. What is that? Who is that
I'm
guy?
going to be honest.
Kenneth Copeland. He's been around forever.
I wouldn't be
has-
surprised. He looks like he is as old as Methuselah.
He's of the like the Jesse Duplantis and the Kenneth Copeland and the
Oral Roberts.
Oral Roberts.
Yeah.
so
Jimmy-
more names
Jimmy
I don't
Baker.
know.
Yeah,
I
so-
don't know any of
Oral
those
goes
names.
back a ways.
It was like when televangelism wasn't mocked and it felt like
It
it was a
should've been.
real thing. Yeah.
Is
It
that
took
the
us
same
too long.
era as it was a thing I've seen like 5 times in the last 10 years, but there was this dude that was speaking in tongues, and at one point in time he like starts saying like, oh, Baba Kanda.
Probably Robert Tilton or something.
Maybe, I don't know. It just seems like it's all from the same era. Like
It's the
I was
same people, same theology.
fair enough.
Yeah.
I was born in 91, and so I was never around for any of this stuff.
I've
And
missed the Babaconda waves as well.
Tilton was the farting preacher.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
No way. Okay, all right. If it's sad that's exactly okay. Fair enough. I was like, there were all these. I think it was TikTok actually. It was this video, this 10-second video of what was going on, and then everybody was just destroying this and saying, "I can't believe Christians believe in this stuff," and like, "I can't believe this represents mainstream Christianity." Like my heart was hurting, and I'm just like, "This is what represents us." This is still to this day what most of it's not even a specific generation on TikTok anymore, but like these people were all just jaded about this is the Christian community and this is what
Used
they
to be
believe.
that was all that was on TV.
Yeah.
though.
Really?
It was that type of stuff.
Oh, man, that's
I mean, that was
rough.
it for Christianity.
Yeah.
The TBN, is that what it's called? TBN?
Yeah.
You know, it's like all that stuff. And that's why we're so wildly popular. So we have some, solid biblical content.
All right, now hold on. Now bring this back out of the clouds, because here's the thing: is we believe stuff like this can happen, right?
Yes.
We believe that like God could knock the thing out. If he
Absolutely.
wanted to. Absolutely could do it, right?
By going, "Pff."
Yep. I don't know why he's got to do the theater.
He called it a wind.
Yeah, he was the wind of God.
Yeah, I blow the wind of God on you. So like this is where it comes out of the clouds. There's
Yes.
a difference between petitioning the Lord and saying, God, you are mighty and you are sovereign, and we ask you as your people to step in on this thing. That's
So
a humble way of
and this
trying
is where we
saying,
have-
I have the wind of God, and I'm blowing it out of my face.
Hey, you know what? Perfect example. Like that is the exact thing that got Moses in the straits, right?
Right.
Like I have the stick, I will do the tapping.
Yeah.
This is the
Exactly.
exact thing that caused Moses problems. It's the reason that like I always never get to quite to the bottom why I had a problem with, say, faith healers, right? Like calling upon God to heal something is legit,
Yeah.
biblically legit,
Right.
right? But like it's because they're not asking, they're telling, right? They're saying I have the power to do that.
They're trying to own something that
They're
belongs
trying to own
God.
something that belongs to God, and God's prerogative is to do or not do.
Right.
It's his prerogative to do if he wants to do. Right. But like acting as if you represent Yahweh and the things that he's going to do, unless you definitely do. Which obviously the wind is not taking the coronavirus down, so I would say it is not.
yeah.
Yeah, and he said, listen to this. He says, it's just things that should hit you when people say it, and you're like, that don't make any sense. He says, I blow the wind. Wait, wind, almighty, strong south wind, heat, burn this thing in the name of Jesus. Satan, you bow your knees. You fall on your face, COVID-19. I blow the wind of God on you. You are destroyed forever, and you will never be back. Thank you, Lord God. Let it happen. Cause it to happen. the wind of God, it doesn't have to be a fast wind.
It doesn't have to be a fast.
What? Oh, well, good, the Lord says. Thanks, Copeland.
Lord, if you would like to gently blow your wind upon all of us,
Yeah.
so that COVID-19 can be eradicated
He says,
at the same speed that a vaccine might help.
it hates heat, it hates humidity, it hates water, it just dies. It's even better. I just heard the Lord say this, because I've witnessed it.
Oh, come on.
It's even better if there is no wind at all. Just enough heat to keep them from killing them people in New York City, he chuckled. What?
What? Okay, I didn't even see any of that stuff. That just makes it
goes on
so
for
much
probably
worse.
less.
So the hardest thing to take in here is like, and we struggle with this, right? Like, there's a good section of Christianity that struggles with platitudes like this when people are dying, right? Like, people are sick, people are struggling here,
Right.
and you go, the wind of God will destroy this. Well, when? Well,
Right.
when? Like, after it kills, like, my cousin? You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna say that, you better be prepared to. Like, you can't reconcile everybody's strong opinion against Yahweh or Jesus or Christianity with a platitude, right? And so, like, whatever you thought was comforting out of that, realize if they don't hold God as sovereign or agree that He's good,
Yep.
then your words are not doing anything for them. You sound callous and rude.
Yeah, all you're doing is representing a God that very well might not do what you're saying. Like, it is completely in His power to do exactly that. But what you set the situation up for is if that doesn't happen, then it's just further proof that He doesn't exist, and it's further proof that He doesn't care and doesn't have that kind of power, and then further example of how Christianity is shown and how it's shown by these kind of people. Like, it's ridiculous. All you're doing is breaking down the trust that, or the relationship that God could create with this person. You are setting these people up for failure, because all they're going to look at is see you and go, I can't associate with a God that says that that's all right.
So this, I mean, think about this. This type of situation. This happened a little bit when 9/11 came around, right? Like, this type of situation where a big thing happens, and people are like, where else do we go? What do we go to? What do we turn to for any hope? Where are we sourcing our hope out of? And it's your duty to try to explain a God that would allow 9/11 to happen, that would allow the coronavirus to happen, right? And or the flu, for that matter, as far as we're comparing things, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, when you show up and say, don't worry, God's got this, from their perspective, they're going, God, what? What are you even talking about? The coronavirus still exists. People still ran into our
Right.
buildings with planes. What do you mean, got it?
Exactly.
You know, and like, there's not a bad time to introduce people to the hope of Jesus Christ, right? But there is a way of approaching it when you try to minimize the thing that's happening to them. Obviously, that Jesus is not minimizing it, right?
No.
Like, God's not minimizing the hurt that person's going to, or the fact that we were attacked, or the fact that there's a pandemic that are making people sick. God is not upstairs laughing, right? Like, He weeps for the world that we live in, and as much as I think Franklin Graham's a blowhard, yeah, it is a result of a fallen world. God created a perfect world, and we cracked it, right? And because of that crack, things happen, like disease and sin and selfishness and whatever. The long list of things that God never intended for His kids, right? But nonetheless, here we are, and God has to say, look, I have a way to rescue you out of this, but you have to take it. And so trying to introduce somebody to how to take it while minimizing the thing that they're going through completely negates God's heart. That is not God's heart on them at all, or their situation that they're in. And I think that's the problem with saying things like that or acting in that way, is where we're trying to get across the point that God is all-knowing, all-powerful, and He does have this under control. Not once does Jesus minimize the fact that Lazarus died.
Right.
Not one. I mean, it's specifically called out that on His way to Jerusalem, He weeps for His town that will not come back to Him, right? God, He's never minimizing the thing that happened. The guy that said, hey, I got to bury my father, right? Like, and He's like, yeah, look, you got to go let the dead bury their own dead, right? But like, didn't ignore the guy, didn't downplay him, didn't minimize him, just said, this is the thing, let's do this, right? And so like, I think it's the tactic that's hard to take. When you minimize what people are going through, then you are not taking God's heart on the situation.
Mm-hmm. I liken it to the same situation of when my parents passed away. I heard so many people do the whole, it's okay, God's got a plan for this. God has a plan for this. I'm mourning the death of my parents, and everyone's like, just wait till God fixes this. Just wait. He reigns supreme, and all these statements that were just service to themselves and not to actually understand where I was coming from. I was furious with God. I was furious with him. My dad was a great dude. He just straight up was. I'm not trying to exalt him in any way. He just was. And my thought as an 18-year-old that just lost his father to a heart attack, I was like, there are rapists and there are murderers and there are people that are awful that are still running around living. And God decided to take my father. He took my dad with him. And you're going to look me in the face right now and say, oh, God's got a plan for this. It's going to be okay. It's going to be all right. It was a spit in my face when people would say this stuff. It didn't help me in any way. It helped those people feel like they were doing their good deed for the day.
Right.
And I'm not saying they weren't sometimes in the right heart or anything like that.
Yeah,
but
as
like,
a whole picture, they don't know what to say either.
Right,
I mean,
They've
exactly.
never been an
Agree-
18-year-old who
agreed.
lost their dad. They don't know how to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, and I understand that. And I completely appreciate that. And that's fair. And I'm still to this day.
I don't
where-
make it no better. I mean, you never let them
Right.
completely off the hook, right? Like,
Right. No, there's
right.
there's grace for it, absolutely. But the whole thing is we're all feeling this right now. It is okay to understand that we are all going through a traumatic experience. This is something that most of us have never gone through at all in any way, shape, or form. It is traumatic. Things are changing. Our world is being turned upside down. It is okay to go, man, this sucks.
Right, this is crazy.
It's all right to just go, dude, this is insane. Christians do not have to be the ones to say, well, God's got this and all this different stuff just by using that statement. Show it. Absolutely show it with your actions. Show that we live without fear and show that we live in a world that is completely ran by our God and ran by Yahweh. We show that in our actions, but it doesn't mean that we walk up to strangers and just be like, everything's okay. God's got it.
I mean, so, like, think of it this way. What would it mean to you if someone came up to you in the middle of the street and goes, hey, I know everything's rough here, but Baal has this.
Right?
Right? Or Zeus has got this under control.
You know,
I'm like,
Ra, the sun god,
All
he's
right.
just got this done. Don't worry about
Now,
it.
it doesn't.
you.
Yeah. Like, even if it's like just because you know that it's true doesn't mean that people are going
Right.
to hear it the way that you're thinking
Yeah.
it. And so, like, can you love people enough to not be so arrogant as to say they would hear it how I would hear it? Like, people's lives and circumstances and events and
Yeah.
things they bring to it. I just don't.
You know what's a great thing to do right now? Show them that you love them and care for them. Talk to people that may be in a rough spot and ask them if you can help. Whenever I go to the grocery store right now, and I'm not putting myself up in any way, I'm a terrible person.
Yeah, here we
Deal with
go.
that.
Rev it up, Boova.
No, I'm a
great
horrible
Boova train.
I'm a horrible person.
I
Let's start
lifted
with
up
that.
the self checkout and I took it and brought it to an old lady in aisle 10.
So they could disinfect.
Ma'am, do you need this? Oh man, thank you, fellas.
Booba's got this.
I was trying to ramp up to that in a good way, and then it just got broken down. I appreciate that actually.
You know how great I am.
I'm a
Dig this
prideful beast.
story.
No, I actually, whenever I go to the grocery store, I text at least one person and I go, is there anything you need at your place right now? Anything. Because I'm right by your house, or even if I'm not right by your house, I was thinking about you and I wanted to make sure if I could stop you from having to make a grocery run to leave your house right now, even if it's just a man, I don't have tomatoes for that salsa I was going to make. Cool. I'm going to grab them real quick. I'll be over. I'll drop them off. I don't have to talk to you. I'll leave them at your front door. Something small. There are so many people who are reaching out to me that way. I didn't come up with that idea. Someone did it to me and then I reciprocated it. So I'm not a good dude. I'm just seeing things that are happening, going, I dig on that. But I'm doing that because it's an action. It's a way to show someone that I care about them, rather than going, hey man, everything sucks right now, but Yahweh's in control, which is a true statement. But you're absolutely right, Ben. If they don't see it the way that I'm going to see it, it's useless.
And the hard part about the current situation is we got kind of a split in the population where some people are devastated and thinking, man, things are
Yes.
terrible. And other people are like,
I'm fine.
you know. And we kind of talked about that last week.
Yeah.
Right, yep.
But we're having the conversation now, like we're planning to do a parking lot service on Sunday. And I'm kind of starting to think,
Yeah, I was going to ask how that's been stewing in your mind.
I'm literally back and forth. And,
Yeah.
people want to see each other. As long as you follow the rules, and we won't do communion because we're not going to, keep
Right.
the windows up. You can't come in the building. The doors will be locked. All that stuff.
Yeah.
Follow the rules that comply with the governor's thing. But then the neighbors drive by, who are, by the way, on the way to Walmart.
Yep.
And they're going to be all mad at us because we're killing everybody because we're
Right.
together, although we're not.
Right.
It's the optics,
I
Yeah.
thought about you guys because did you guys hear about the Scoop the Loop night that happened the other night
Of it,
downtown?
I haven't heard any details.
Yeah, so I was there.
Yeah.
I went. So
People were getting out, weren't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
So for those of you not in Des Moines, there's a thing called Scoop of the Loop. It's the same thing you've ever heard of in your downtowns. You drive around downtown and you hang out in your cars, and everybody shows off what they've got. And it was what you did when you were 13 or 16, and you're redoing it at 30, right?
Yeah.
And so it was a big thing. Like there were probably, I'd say at least 100 cars there that were driving around the loop and hanging out. It was cool. I liked it. I was excited about it. I was driving and I wasn't like speeding. I had my seatbelt on. I was making sure I wasn't getting pulled over.
Old man scooping through
Oh,
the
dude, straight up. It was exactly that. I drive
Howdy, sir.
I drive a crappy car that has dents in it and messed up wheels. It does not look good.
I can't hear NPR with your hooting.
I was not in a, yeah, exactly. I was not in a sweet ride at all, but it was so much fun to just kind of be a part of something again and have some semblance of normalcy that it was a gathering. Yeah. But then people kind of messed with it because there were groups of people outside of their cars and the cops showed up. I was very happy that the police were there.
That's my fear. They'll show up here.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
People
Oh,
call the
absolutely.
police on
Yes. 100%.
Churches doing this.
Yep. And
Like,
so
even though we're in compliance,
police showed up and they talked to groups of people and they were pulling people over. And I mean, there's probably 100 cars. There were probably 10 cops around to make sure that everything was fine. And I appreciated that they were there, but like there were people that ruined it. Yeah. And it was fully lighthearted. It was literally somebody that started a Facebook group and went, it'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
And so they made an event and it got shared, 12,000 times or whatever. And then people went and it was fun. We drove around and we, people were cranking up their music and it was a blast. I liked it. But then there were people who ruined it. There were people that were sitting outside of their cars, huge groups of people, probably 20 people plus, and they got in trouble. And there were people blasting that event on Facebook going, I can't believe you all are so irresponsible, and I can't believe you went. What's it going to be like if one of your family members dies? And I hate you. You're the reason I can't see my father in the hospital, blah, blah, blah. If you would have just stayed home, this would all be done by now, which that's whatever.
You are mistaken.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
Sorry, but you are mistaken.
no data that says that you cannot in any way claim that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was supposed to be a lighthearted thing, but then it turned into this disaster, and people are completely ripped apart for it right now, and it's crazy. It stinks that things that are meant to be lighthearted and fun and just to get some semblance of normalcy for people. I mean, people that hadn't done that in 20 years were like, yes, I'm going to get my kids together, put them in our minivan, and then go downtown at 6:30 at night and drive around the loop for 20 minutes and have fun with it and explain that nostalgic memory to my children. And it was fun for them. But then people had to go and ruin it because they were outside and they were messing it up. And so, yeah.
Well, right now, we're still planning on a 9 and a 10:30. But this is something I threw a lot of informal poll in our little group. So here's the options. We're going to do the 10:30. We're going to do live stream anyway, right?
Yeah.
And we're also doing a 9 o'clock and a 10 o'clock parking lot thing. Here's basic rules. Where do you plan to come to? And it's like right now, overwhelmingly live streams. So now I'm like,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I thought, well, if people really, really want to do it, I'm good. I want to do it. I want to do this. It was my idea.
Right.
Well, I mean,
I want to do things I come up with.
It's all good, Dan. You were the ones who...
I'm the one who wanted us to do this.
I won't see Easter fail.
I invented the question mark. Haven't you used it?
I mean, I bought the stuff so we'd have it. And but then I don't know. Like say, I go back. It depends on the day. I go back and forth, and I'm like, and it's not out of my fear. I have no fear of this. I'm just worried. Do we ruin the witness?
Yeah.
Right.
That's all I'm worried about. And maybe those people don't like you anyway. They don't care anyway.
Yeah.
Like I say, they're on the way to Walmart, or they wouldn't even know you were having a party.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, that was the thing. People that took pictures of all the people out there were the ones who were out there.
Yeah. Right.
You didn't get that photo without being
very
there.
hypocritical, and that's what I'm trying to process.
Yeah.
Have you tried invoking the south wind?
It doesn't have to be a quick wind.
Yeah, that's true.
A slow south wind.
It can be an encroaching, slow south wind.
Can we do a God Windy?
Hold on. I'm gonna play a clip.
Oh yes.
Really? I don't know if you guys will be able to hear it. Can you guys hear anything? And not everybody's wearing headphones. Okay.
I got headphones on.
Okay. I don't know. Try them, Dan. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right, Dan. Mike, you're gonna have to suffer.
I don't care.
Okay. Here we go.
I'll do it for you.
COVID-19.
Yep.
COVID-19.
Oh. I blow
The wind of God.
the wind of God.
Oh.
On you. You are destroyed forever.
He's looking at
And
the
you'll
camera. He's
never
not
be
looking at the COVID.
Well, he can
Thank
hit more COVID through the airwaves.
Oh man.
Let it happen.
Who are those other dudes?
Yeah, I was gonna say, why are those all dudes up there?
They're up there for sport.
They're agreeing with him.
There's not 6 feet between them.
Here's
Come on, man, that kills me. So many people are ripping.
Now, here's the thing. I watched kind of an extended clip of that.
Yeah.
I want to say either today or yesterday or something. And like, I hesitate to even say this out loud. That guy feels like demonic to me. Like, in his eyes.
Yep.
I just see it and I'm like, ah.
And to be fair, people have mocked him for 30 years.
No, right.
I mean,
He's-
this isn't
Oh,
the
really?
first time they're
Okay.
like, oh, Kenneth Cole, man, he's finally fallen off. No, he's been doing this stuff.
Oh, okay. That I wasn't
Since I was
aware
in
of.
college.
Okay, gotcha.
I
yeah,
mean,
this
That
is
was
not a new
10 years ago?
breed. He's the same guy he's been.
8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it so sniffs the opposite of
Right.
Yahweh that it feels it's manipulation and it's lies, and it tries to take God's power and put it onto himself. And who do you know who does that? Yeah.
Wasn't he? I think he was also like kind of blown up recently on something because one of the things he put out his message was, "Don't you stop tithing. You better not stop tithing. You better give. You better give more than you ever did before." Because now here's the deal. I agree with that. I agree with that statement.
Just not to him.
I absolutely agree with that concept. You should not stop your tithe. If you
yeah,
if you are unemployed right now, you don't stop your tithe. If you're getting any kind of income, you don't stop your tithe. It's about you do that. But like coming from him, it just hit me wrong. It was weird because he was just like, Jesus is in control. Agreed. You don't stop your tithe. Agreed. You keep going. Agreed. Him?
Nope. Yep.
I don't know.
I mean,
I don't know.
someone's got to keep him looking like a vacuum salesman.
Oh man, it killed me. I'm like, come on,
Hey,
man.
here, let me to this, and like, you see a guy like that talking, and he gives you the willies, turn him off. Turn him off.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean,
I scrolled past.
Here's the thing: if you don't think the Holy Spirit deals in willies, you're mistaken. The Holy Spirit deals in willies. There've been
Can you please say heebie-jeebies?
Hey, we've had that occasion when we were running the show.
Yes, we've had people in
Yeah.
here, and like and we're looking
Yeah.
around, we're like, boy, this don't feel right, and it wasn't words necessarily that people were saying, and I couldn't tell you anything specific. I mean, stuff that felt a little bit wonky, but like just as a whole, we're like, ugh, that guy's never coming back.
I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I think this is a good time to do this.
Okay.
Oh, I'm excited.
Because this goes back to probably 1983.
Oh no!
He had an LP, an album out, and he had a song, "Blow the Trumpet in Zion," and I bought the album, the full-length album, because it had that song on it, and I could listen to it in my dorm room.
Yeah.
Wait,
I
that
bet-
dude?
I bet, yeah. It was-
Wait, he's a singer?
well, he sure thought so.
Hey, I mean,
Hey, that's the
Televangelist
best
and singer.
answer.
That's back Swaggart. He'd sing, and then he'd get up and preach, and he did the same thing.
I mean,
No,
he
that's
sold an
right.
album to Dan.
yeah, that's right. It was at the bookstore.
Yeah, and Dan was a
At Ballot-
discerning
at Southbridge
gentleman at
Mall.
the time.
Google it. Blow the trumpet in Zion. Kenneth Copeland.
I'm gonna see if I can find.
I was
it.
going to
You'll
say, we
find
got to
it.
figure out if we
Has a
can
big
add that to
trumpet.
our rotation.
It seems like there's clouds. I remember. I probably still have the LP.
Did you say it was a picture of him?
No.
Oh, I thought he like put himself as an angelic figure blowing the.
Blow the trumpet in Zion, Zion.
Oh wow, that was great.
He did
I
better
hope
than
it
that,
sounded
though.
like that.
It definitely, it's been a few years since I heard it.
Dan, it's all good.
You guys will love it.
You're a phenomenal singer.
I mean, I'm willing to Amazon Music it on the way home. Just check it out.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check
Although,
this out.
here's the thing: I never understood like the televangelist gig. Like I've seen what pastors do on a pretty regular basis, and like, I mean, what a horrible way to make money. You know what I'm saying?
But it's millions.
If you're, but if you're not in it, for the hope of Jesus Christ, I just feel like if you have any heart at all, it would be draining and defeating. And like, I mean, I don't think you can actually be a shepherd of people without Jesus. I don't know how you do it. Like, it's just a nonstop barrage of a cracked world all the time. And his solution, I shouldn't say that, I don't know the man, but like, maybe the televangelist normal solution is to fix it with money, right? Give me money, or you'll get money, or somehow
well,
money.
it's a sign of your faith. It's a
Somehow
sign
money
you believe
is
in this
involved
prayer I
here.
just did, and yep.
And I've never seen that be true. I've only seen money ruin people. I've never seen it impress upon them or add to them, right? I've seen people do great things with money, but I've never seen it take a situation that they're in and turn it around, ever. Not one time.
Yeah, we
right.
heard that, Ben.
I can't. I'm sorry. I don't. I want the original. I don't want the Gaither vocal band.
Oh no!
I want to see Ken Copeland knocking it out of the park. I'm gonna keep.
Man,
I'll
that's
find
awful.
it.
It's there.
All right,
It's
yeah,
there.
find it.
Trust me.
All right. Anyway,
It's a classic.
that's. I mean, what was the album cover, Dan?
Him blowing a trumpet.
It was either him blowing a trumpet, or there might have been some clouds. I could be mixing a couple up.
It was a
though.
cloud blowing a trumpet.
Yeah.
It was very
I
confusing.
could get down on
It was
that.
more impressionist.
Okay. So I had to get out and about this week. I normally work from home. Well, not normally. Most of the time I work from home, like 60% of the time. And so when the thing happened and I had to work from home all the time, I didn't feel like it was going to be a big deal. And for the most part, I've been home. But a couple technical things have happened to me over the last week, and so I had to go out. I had to drive into work, and so I was in there last Friday. I had to drive into work. And I thought it was odd. Like, I expected to go downtown and for it to be dead. Has anybody been out and about? Mike, have you been out and about?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Like, and I expected downtown to be dead. It was not.
No,
Not at
there's
all.
nothing dead anywhere.
No, there was. I mean, there were all kinds of people out. And for the life of me, I thought, like, they don't work down here. Like, there's some people that are working downtown, but realistically, most of downtown is not working.
Right.
And so it was just super odd. So anyway, I have to take around a corner to go into the parking garage or whatever. I turn up and like there's this line of people. Oh, you found it. Oh.
It is a picture of him.
Oh my.
Oh,
Yes, indeed.
Boy, that's.
he
Sorry
looks
to
like
derail
John
your-
Travolta.
I don't know how to take him in. He does not look like John Travolta.
Yeah, he does, like a Grease.
No,
Yeah, Grease Lightning.
Spirit Wind is the.
that is not Danny Zuko.
It is called Spirit
He's
Wind.
been talking about
Oh,
Spirit
man.
Wind forever.
I wish it was him in an action shot going.
a Giphy.
What do you think he practiced that?
1983.
Yes, he practiced that. No,
practiced doing it in the mirror?
That had to be ad libbed. I feel like
He's
that
been
was
doing it for so many years. I mean,
the spirit went. Well, apparently, yeah.
He does that technique for
Oh
everything.
man,
He does it at home when there's
probably
crumbs on the
straight- probably
dinner
the
room, on the
trademark.
diner
the
table.
south wind that's hot because it's not the north cold wind of the Lord.
Anyway.
Yeah, we've heard about the four winds.
Anyway, so I was downtown but I saw a line going to like it was for the food court, and I thought there's no way all these people are waiting for food. I don't know what they're doing down here. And so I kind of peeked over the railing and I heard people talking and kind of gathering around this food court. So I took the elevator downstairs to see whether the food court was open or whatever, and it turns out like everything's closed. But all these people were gathering because there was a rumor that the Pope was in town. And I said, I don't know
No
why.
way.
I don't know why the Pope would be around during the COVID. I've seen him teaching out on the deal, but it sounds like it's easier for him to travel because with all the people hidden away in their houses, they can't see the Pope mobile make a break for it. Where normally the Pope goes anywhere and the people have a good eye on him. So anyway, he likes to find respite here in the middle part of the United States, where there's plenty of distance between folks. But the rumor on the street is that he was going to land in Altoona. And so I asked him, well, where? I said, I mean, I'd like to take it in and just to see. It's an experience. It's like seeing Obama, you know? And so I take it in, and it tells me where it's going to go. And I'll be doggone if it wasn't Boova's house. He's going to Boova's apartment.
Yeah.
And so the problem is all those people in the food court followed him out there because they wanted to see, hey, man, is the Pope going to come out and speak something to us? We're worried in this land of COVID. And so Boova now ultimately has to deal with these people hanging outside of his apartment complex. And so, I mean, what'd you tell him, Boova?
So I talked to him about loving their enemies. Is what I did, Ben.
Okay.
That whole concept of loving your enemies has hit me really hard recently, like super hard. And it kind of came to a spearhead for me the last couple days more than I ever thought it would, because I don't have enemies, I guess. Like I don't really have people that are against me. And if I do, I just don't care. And so it doesn't really bother me at all usually, so it's not really a thing. But there are a couple people in my life that, like, sometimes they are just straight up at odds against me and are just 100% enemies. And so I found myself at a spot recently. The last couple of days, this guy that I know has just been a complete jerk to me. Just absolute jerk to me. And unfounded, he's just in a rough spot, and he's angry about some stuff in his life, and he's got a lot going on, and I get it. I understand where he's coming from, but, like, he's just a jerk sometimes, right? And, like, I can't stand that. I want to care about the guy, but I just can't stand that sometimes. And so yesterday I had to help him for a couple things, and I wasn't happy about doing it, but I did it. And it was whatever, and the whole time he was just angry and making backhanded comments and just was upsetting me quite a bit. And, like, it really upset me to the point where, like, I didn't really want to talk to him anymore. And so I left the place and went about my day. And then today rolls around, and I just couldn't get him off my mind. Like, I could not stop thinking about him. And I'm just like, why is this dude in my head? Why am I thinking about this guy? And it wasn't like I was angry and was seething about it. Like, I can understand that. I'm a pretty big schmuck, and so most of the time it wouldn't surprise me if I was just like, man, I'm gonna think about this dude for a while because I can't stand him, and it just kind of fuels my hate fire to sit here and think about him, right? But so I kept thinking about him, like, there's a reason this dude's stuck on my brain. There's a reason this dude is here. I got to figure this out. And so I kind of made up a weird situation where I went over to his place, and I asked him if I could use his kitchen, because I said that I had to come to the show tonight, and I didn't have time to run home and make myself anything, and I needed to get some food in me. And so I couldn't just grab fast food because that's not a whole deal. So I gotta get stuff right.
Wait a minute, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt the story, but how close are you to this cat? Is this come off like a really odd request to him? Probably.
No, it doesn't come off as an odd request.
Okay,
I'm pretty close to him. And so I showed up and I cooked myself just some scrambled eggs real quick, and he was being fine with me. He wasn't really upsetting me. He wasn't angry. But I could tell that it kind of was ready to turn at any moment. And he kept mentioning his dishes. Like, he was upset that his dishes weren't done. Okay? And so I'm like, well, okay. And he goes, and my lady's going to do them because I've done them. He goes, I've done them the last 7 times. I go, all right. Well, it's a good thing that you're keeping count. That's a good start to the whole situation, especially if you want to alleviate the stress. Just keep track. That's a good idea. And he goes, it's a pain in the butt to wheel out the dishwasher and like hook it up because it's a portable dishwasher they've got to hook up. And I'm like, why don't you just hand wash the dishes? And he goes, it's too much sometimes. And that's when he said, I've done it the last 7 times. I'm like, all right, dude, don't worry about it. And he goes, I'm sorry, she should have done that by now. And he's just angry and spiteful in his talk. And so I'm just like, I know this dude. I know his heart. And I know that he's a good guy when he wants to be. And a lot of the times there's just stuff going on in his brain that just does not allow him. I'm not making excuses for him, but he's a schmuck. But sometimes it's just like his brain just takes over and will not allow him to be in a good place. And so I recognize that sometimes when dishes pile up, it gets really overwhelming. Like, I don't know if you guys have ever been in a place where like dishes like straight up piled up like bad. Part of my depression at one point in time was like any menial task I just would not do. It was too overwhelming, and just not doing it was way easier than even trying to do one dish, specifically for dishes for me for a long time. And it was overwhelming. It was debilitatingly overwhelming to the point where I would cry sitting at the foot of my bed at night, not being able to sleep and thinking to myself, why can't I just go into my kitchen? If I literally just take the fact that I can't sleep right now, walk in and do dishes, it'll be fine. I can get them done. It'll take 30 minutes. I could not do it. My brain, my depression would not allow for it. It was winning. And so I saw the reflection of that in this situation. And I saw that in both of them. And it was like both of them were defeated. They defeat each other a lot, him and his wife. And I could tell that this was a thing between the both of them. It had piled up. It wasn't just a day. It was a bit. And so I just looked at it and I'm just like, I have to do these dishes. I have to. I cannot leave here tonight without doing these dishes. And my immediate brain thought was, I'm so angry at him still. I do not want to do these freaking dishes. Like, I don't want to do anything I don't want to serve him. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. This dude was a jerk to me yesterday. Not 24 hours ago, was a total jerk to me. I don't want to do this. But then it hit me again. I'm like, he's been on my mind all day. And now I'm here. And now I have the opportunity to do something. I could just serve him. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it. I'm not going to tell him I'm doing it. I'm not going to go, hey, man, did you see it? I'm literally just going to let him sit on his butt, watch his TV show, and let his lady do her thing, and I'm just going to do the dishes. And so I sat there for like an hour and a half, and I did dishes. And, like, it sucked. I didn't want to do it, but, like, I knew I had to. I knew there was a reason for it. And so they both were, they were getting upset about it with each other. They were like, this should have been done. They were embarrassed and all this different stuff. I'm like, guys, just get over here real quick, please. And they walked over and I'm like, I want you to know this is not a thing. This is not a thing to get upset about. This is not a thing to be embarrassed about. You don't have to get angry with one another that it's gotten to this point, and you don't have to get mad at yourself because you haven't done it. I'm not doing this with the expectation of calling you out. It has nothing to do with shaming you in this situation. I love both of you. I care for both of you, and I recognize how overwhelming this can be. You've got a family, you've got boys here, you've got a family that's staying home longer than they ever have. There are so many outside stressors right now that it's making this just seem like an impossible thing. It's okay. Stop freaking out. Go sit down, watch your show. I'm going to keep doing this. If I ask you a random question, it'll probably be, where do I put this dish away? But that's it. I'm not trying to bring it back up to make it seem like, oh, it's such a big deal. It's not. It's freaking dishes. Let me do it. And so I did it. And I got like 3/4 of the dishes done, but like you can see the sink now. The sink was completely cleaned out. All the stuff that I didn't get to was at least soaking in hot water, so that when they did do it, because they said to me, well, she's going to be doing it tonight anyway, so don't worry about it. I'm like, well, forget that. I'm just going to get it done. So the whole time they were like, are you doing the dishes? And I'm like, no, I'm making room so I can wash my dishes that I made when I made my dinner tonight. And they're like, oh, shut up. I'm like, no, I needed to make room. So I figured I might as well just do these dishes. And so I get done with them. It's whatever. And I say to them, I love you. Again, don't let this be a shameful thing. This was not about pointing it out. And it's not about sitting here and feeling bad about it. It has nothing to do with anything besides the fact that I love you both. I recognize that this sucks. I know everything is overwhelming right now, and it literally feels like the world's on fire. Now you don't have to worry about the dishes. It's one thing you don't have. I can't clean everything. I can do this. I love you. And I walked out. And I didn't ask for thank you. I didn't sit there and wait for it. I literally just walked out, got in my car, drove straight here. And so, not to make it selfish, but I feel amazing that I just listened at the fact that something was calling me to just do that. I did not want to do it. I'm not a cool dude because I did dishes. I just felt like God was tugging at me, just doing, hey man, you need to be here for this dude for a second and just be around him and show him you love him. And it's funny because him and I have had a past that's just been riddled with, just loathsome stuff that we've said to each other and mean, vicious comments back and forth. We've said some of the meanest things to one another and did some of the meanest things to each other. And that's not how it should be. But like, it was this moment where it was like, just stop, take a step back, realize that he's angry for a reason. You recognize what that's like. Just love him. Serve him for a second and love him. That's all you have to do. And don't make it a big deal, just walk away. And it was such a freeing and peaceful thing for me that it helped kind of calm the storm in my brain where I was angry and I was mean and I was upset about yesterday. And instead of getting more upset about it like I usually do, I just decided, I was like, forget it, man. I'm going to go serve him and love him. Like, how can I do that and just deal that? And the anger went away. It disappeared entirely. I don't even remember what all was said on Sunday. I don't care. It's gone. And like, that was a blessing to me because it was going to ruin my week if I just sat there and I just festered on this angry situation that I was in. It was only going to bring me pain by continuing to go over it. And instead, I just decided to do what I needed to do and love him, even though I didn't want to. And even though I wanted to be angry in the back of my mind sometimes, I'm like, whatever, it's done. And so there's nothing more than that I'm going to tell you. Everyone who's read The Love Your Enemies, I'd take a step back and read it again. I would really go through it and recognize that love is rarely anything but an action word when it's talked about in the Bible. It's not a word that's usually representing a feeling. It's more representing something you're doing or an action. It's one of those things that you show. And if you take that into consideration, where loving your enemies is not the concept of not hating them, because I think that's what a lot of people think. A lot of people think as long as I don't actively hate my enemies, I'm fine. And as long as I don't actively hate the people that hurt me, I'm fine. And even if I go as far as to sometimes pray for them, but it's kind of in a half-hearted way where I'm like, David asked for smiting his enemies a lot. I think I can do that in this situation, can't I, Father? Love them with actionable things. And recognize that Jesus is asking you to do that. He's telling you to do it because it's right. But there's also blessing for you in that. There's things that benefit you for that. And don't do it for the benefit for you, but realize that God is asking for you to do something that he knows is for your good. Loving your enemies is a part of that. Actionably working and serving someone that you may be upset about, or you may be angry at, or may have hurt you in the past, or hurt you recently, whatever it looks like. There is joy for both of you on the other side of that transaction in a beautiful way. And having actually taken a step back and did it to an extent for the first time in my life, I'm very thankful that I did. And I'm really thankful that God didn't take him off my mind at all today. And it turned into something I was able to do. And so Love your enemies the way that you really are supposed to. Get off my lawn.
Get off Boova's lawn.
Yeah, it's a tough role. Loving your enemies is a tough role.
Yeah.
It's because it's all risk. And often very little chance of reward. Like that's why you call it, like if you think you can get a return from someone, it's not just you do things because you love people and you care about them, want to show them. It's because there's very little personal risk to you to do it.
Yeah.
They're likely to receive it well. They're not going to be mad. They're not going to take it wrong. It's not likely to introduce drama into your life to serve people who you like and who like you back. There is a lot of risk in trying to serve your enemy because not only does it not, they don't receive it well, it also doesn't help any situation and probably even creates worse for you. There's a lot of risk in it. And so a lot of times I think we misunderstand that I don't want to serve my enemy because I don't like them. A lot of times we don't want to serve our enemy because there's a lot of personal risk of it not helping and making things worse because of how they might perceive what you're trying to do. And you're like, boy, is it all right what if it stirs the pot? And Boova's story is a real good one because, right, it had that risk of stirring the pot. Hey, Boova's in there shaming us by doing our dishes.
Right.
Right? And so I think this should not be a surprise in the Christian life, and it often is, but it shouldn't be. It costs something. It costs something to serve your enemy. It does, and it puts you at risk. It puts you at risk that someone will misunderstand you. It puts you at risk that they will be offended by your prayers, by your service, by your intent to show them grace and mercy and love. Like, your enemy may respond poorly to that because the assumption generally is that you just don't find them your enemy. They don't care for you either. And so I think just recognizing that, like, yeah, is there some risk involved? Of course. But you're going to do it anyway. And you're going to let chips fall where they may because you can't control all that. You can control how you treat other people. You cannot control how they react. And if they react poorly, it doesn't speak any differently of you. Just like it doesn't speak... if it spoke crappily of Jesus for all the jerks that he had mercy on, Jesus himself would have a very bad reputation. Right? Even just on my docket. And so that's the thing. Jesus goes, yeah, I'm willing to be associated with Ben and Boova, even though someone might see it wrong. And I'm going to show them mercy even when they don't deserve it, even when someone go, look at that sucker. Or like, how dare you offer me the mercy? Jesus goes, yeah, I'm offering it anyway, because you need it, whether you realize it or not, you need it. And so I think that's the thing, is that, like, it's not just as simple as, how do I not hate this person? It's recognizing that it will cost you something to love someone who hates you and who you otherwise, and it runs risks. And Jesus says, you're going to take them anyway, because that's what I would have done for you. In fact, that is what I did for you. And so that's how you show me to the world, is you act in ways that they often don't understand, and some people will reject, and some people will overreact, and for some people it'll take time. It'll take the 10th time you wash the dishes, like, what's really going on here? And you're like, the same thing that was the first time.
Right.
It's always the same thing. It hasn't changed. What's your agenda? I don't have one. And it's the thing. It's hard to believe. It's hard for people to take in. It takes breaking through exteriors. And so, yeah, I like it. You fellas ever had that experience where you've intended to try to make something right with your enemy, and either it's gone swimmingly or backfired completely?
Yeah, backfired. Yep.
Yeah.
We're electric in here.
Yeah.
What? Tell me the story.
I don't have a story.
It just happened.
I just recall a vague feeling. Not my Pope style advice, Ben.
Dan, do you remember the story?
I mean, yeah, I can think of like a handful of people in Atlantic when we lived there. We went to a rural setting church, with the piano and organ and old-fashioned style of everything, and started kind of transitioning it in the mid-'90s, early '90s, to more contemporary. And we tried to take slow steps, so not to like step on people, but still, there's some it just rubs some people wrong. Including small groups. You just don't choose small groups. That's taking them out of the church building. That's evil, and we were destroying the church. And a handful, a small handful, thought. And so there were probably 3 families that were just hated me. I mean, hated me. I tried to meet with them. Hey, let's get together and I just want to pray for you once a week. Can we just meet? X time we'll just pray. And they did it for 3 weeks or so. Then they just like found reasons not to, and you try to be extra kind and with those particular people, it just never worked. And so I finally just kind of prayed and said, okay, God, this isn't working. I kind of release these, let them go, which is kind of a weird prayer. But like all of a sudden, one was transferred out of town, and another just decided to move. And I mean, like it's kind of weird. I've had prayers like that periodically, probably 3 or 4 times in my life, where I just kind of released someone, and then like they just suddenly decided to go. I mean, it's just weird. One was a girlfriend.
Mike, I know what you're thinking. You can't pray to release me, and I'll leave.
Lord, we release Booba.
I use the wind and everything.
But I tried. I did everything. I probably tried for 2 or 3 years. I mean, it wasn't like just I tried once or twice. And I mean, you could see them taking notes and looking at each other during like a church service.
Man,
they would listen to tapes afterwards, try to catch me in words, and I was just like, boy, you guys are children here. I mean,
Wow.
Take it to the tape.
Yeah. And you just try not to let it bother you. It's like, well, I'm gonna just keep doing my thing, and that's when I learned to really invest in prayer and fasting. Really, honestly, that was the high spiritual time in my life. To let God worry about it, not me. But it's hard to do that. To let God worry about it, and so yeah.
I mean, it's supposed to and reinforces the point, right? Like you can do what you can do.
Yeah.
And like it does mean you do extend. You put yourself in situations where you try to make things right, where you try to serve and love. And like some people are going to receive it and some people not. But like that risk is something you do have to take because it's a risk Jesus took on you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank Booba. All right, you're listening live from the path. All right, boys, we're gonna hit 3 stalwarts in a row. I found a joke. We're gonna do a quiz on the crucifixion of Jesus, given it's apropos here on Easter season, and then Mike's got some advice on Dear Life from the Path.
Yeah,
we're gonna play the hits. Okay, so here we go. I get one, and then I'm gonna give you the option of two titles, and you guys get to pick the second joke. Joke 1. Every year, Smitty and his wife Martha went to the state fair, and every year Smitty would say, "Martha, I'd like to ride in that there airplane." And every year Martha would reply, "I know, Smitty, but that airplane ride costs $10, and $10 is $10. This one year, Smitty and Martha went to the fair, and Smitty said, "Martha, I'm 71 years old. If I don't ride that airplane this year, I may never get another chance." Martha replied, "Smitty, that there airplane ride costs $10, and $10 is $10. The pilot overheard them and said, "Folks, I'll make you a deal. I'll take you both up for a ride. If you can stay quiet for the entire ride and not say one word, I won't charge you. But if you say one word, it's $10. Smitty and Martha agreed, and up they went. The pilot performed all kinds of twists and turns, rolls and dives, but not a word is heard. He even does a nosedive, pulling up 15 feet above the ground, but still not a word. They land, and the pilot turns to Smitty. "By golly, I did everything I could to get you to yell out, but you didn't." Smitty replied, "Well, I was going to say something when Martha fell out, but $10 is $10.
That's terrible.
This was under the heading Old Folks Jokes.
Yep.
Clean old folks jokes. All right. You got the choice between chocolate peanuts and Kiss the Frog.
Kiss the frog.
Okay. Boo was the first one of the barn.
Excuse me.
Two old guys are playing tennis. At one point, the ball rolls into some bushes, and when one of the players goes to retrieve it, he is confronted by a frog claiming to be a beautiful princess who has been turned into a frog by a mischievous wizard. If the player will kiss her, the frog assures him she will revert to her natural princess state and marry him, and they'll both live happily ever after. The player pockets the frog and returns to the game. After a bit, the frog inside the player's pocket croaks, "Sir, did you forget about me? I'm this beautiful princess turned into a frog. If you kiss me," and so forth. To which he receives the reply, "Dear Lady Frog, I will be completely honest with you. I have reached the age at which I would rather have a talking frog than a new wife."
Oh no.
Hey, I muted, laughed at that. Buva guffawed and really had a rolling go at it.
I still am. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, ready? So I chose this, the Jesus Crucifixion quiz. So the score is average score is 69%, boys. Let's see what we can do. Crucifixion of Jesus.
Okay, here we go.
Number 1, where was Jesus crucified? The Mount of Olives, Golgotha, Jerusalem, the Hinnom Valley. Golgotha.
Golgotha.
What did they offer Jesus to drink as he was crucified?
Sour wine.
Yeah, stagnant water, grape juice, communion wine, vinegar mixed with gall.
Vinegar mixed with gall.
It's vinegar all.
Vinegar and gall. Communion wine, I'm sure.
Yeah.
That's not Welch's.
I mean, they'd have to be using the stuff he used the day before.
You forgot your wine.
When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Which prophet prophesied that this would happen? Isaiah, David, Jeremiah, Daniel.
Oh, Isaiah.
I'm going Isaiah as well. Dan's squinting, as if he can see better. It will
No,
come to him.
no.
see-
It's David because it's a psalm. Remember, because it's
Yeah,
the same
it is,
one
you're
where
right.
it says,
will cast
"Why have you
Sing.
forsaken me?"
Yeah,
Same one.
the sing song.
Yep, King David.
All right.
In what language was the superscription written that was placed above Jesus that said, "Jesus, the King of the Jews"?
Hebrew.
Superscription?
Yeah, Greek,
Oh.
Latin, Hebrew, all of the above.
Oh,
All the above.
yeah, all the above. At least Hebrew for sure.
Inri, that's Latin.
I don't know.
Yeah, I thought Pilate wrote it in 3 different,
Yeah.
so everybody knew. Okay.
How many other people were crucified with Jesus?
2.
We are not told. Many, 1, or 2.
2.
Well, there's 7 animals.
Now,
on
wait
the
a minute.
ark.
It doesn't say how many dudes were up there. He only spoke to 2 of them.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
there
you
was
could.
only two dudes
I
locally.
suppose that's a valid point. I'm still thinking it's 2.
Now, this doesn't tend to hinge on a technicality, because like it's not mentioned, but like he did talk to 2 people, at least. So
Why would
I,
Jesus not have talked to the others?
I would. Hey, you on the end?
I never did like you.
You want in this paradise or what? Well, let's go with 2, and well, if we shame on us, or
What were
maybe
the other answers?
we are not told.
Many.
Many,
1 or
1 or 2. Yeah, actually, the presence of "we are not told" and "many" both would be the same thing for me.
Yeah, it has to be 2.
So it's got to be 2.
Okay.
Which group of people said, "If he be the king of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him"? The chief priests, the scribes, the elders, all of the above.
It's all the above.
Isn't there just 1 chief priest? I mean,
Isn't that the concept
there was
of a chief
technically 2.
priest?
I think kind of 2. They
Well-
don't tend to list 3 though. But if either it's got to be 1, I think it's all of the above.
I think so.
Okay. Ooh, how many hours of darkness were there when Jesus hung on the cross?
6. Is that or was it 3 to 6? 3 to 9.
I think
6
it's
to
3.
9.
It's 2, 3, 4, or 5.
That's 3.
3.
3.
Yeah, let's go with 3.
After
8.
2, 3.
After Jesus died, what supernatural event took place?
Earthquake.
Tear.
People
broke
risen from the
open.
grave? Is that what they're looking for?
Okay,
Yeah.
then it's going to be all the above. The veil of the temple was torn in 2 from top to the bottom. There was an earthquake. Graves opened, and many people,
Yeah.
dead people, rose and
That
went
should
into
be a
the city.
personality quiz. What's the first supernatural
Didn't we
event
all
that comes
come up
to your
with
mind?
something different?
Yeah, Boo was like earthquake. Dan's like dead people are walking about.
Mike's like, there's a tear in a curtain.
We're gonna have to fix the curtain.
That's total type A personality.
Number 9. How did the people who were watching Jesus respond to the events that happened at his death? They are swallowed up in the earth and died.
No.
They are bemused and said among themselves what an amazing coincidence it was.
Bemused.
That was not mentioned.
They were greatly afraid and said, "Truly, this was the Son of God," or "We are not told."
C.
See,
Yeah, this was okay.
Roman.
10. Which psalm gives a first-person account of the crucifixion? Psalm 119, 117, 22, or 23? I think that's 119.
I think so.
I think that's the one we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
Not 119?
Yeah, it's David speaking, but like that's what that's
Gives a first-person account of the crucifixion?
yeah, it contains it connects the crucifixion back to
Why
things
have you
like
forsaken me?
yep,
and-
why have you forsaken me? They divided my clothes.
Psalm 119 is all about the Lord's laws and precepts and his ways and stuff like that, isn't it? Because that was Psalm 119 is the psalm that they used to teach the alphabet.
Oh, yeah, is that the giant one?
Yeah, the Psalm 119 is the longest one, and it's the one where it's like, Lord, how great are your precepts, how good are your ways that you've given them to me.
Is it 22?
Yeah,
it's
So
not
it's
23.
It's not 23.
It's
either
22.
117 or 22.
it's 22.
Maybe it's 22.
Okay.
Maybe,
Yeah, 119 is the long one that
Yeah,
has
well,
like the
that's right.
23 stanzas.
That's right. Well, Sniff's right. Let's go. Okay, let's go 22. See, Boovo rescues 22. 11. Who owned the tomb where Jesus was buried?
Josephus.
Joseph of Arimathea.
I mean,
I was going to say, Josephus, wasn't he the scholar?
a book, you know.
Who did?
You should squint again, Dan.
You should see if you could read the book of Jeremiah when you squint.
I mean, it could be Josephus in the Greek. I'm gonna give it to Dan.
That's what his friends called him.
Joseph of Arimathea.
He and I go back.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. We think we have it right. Let's see what happens. Where was Jesus crucified? We said Golgotha. That was correct. What did they offer Jesus to drink as he was crucified? We said vinegar mixed with gall. That was correct. When they had crucified him, they divided up his clothes by casting lots. Which prophet prophesied this would happen? We said King David. That is correct. In what language was the superscription written that was placed above Jesus that said, Jesus, the King of the Jews? We said all of the above. That is correct. How many other people were crucified with Jesus? We said 2. That is correct. Which group of people said, if he be the King of Israel, let him come down from the cross and we will believe in him? We said all of the above. That was correct. How many hours of darkness were there when Jesus hung on the cross? We said 3. That is correct. After Jesus died, what supernatural event took place? We said all of the above. That was correct. Question 9, how did the people who were watching Jesus respond to the events that happened at his death? We said they were greatly afraid and said, truly, this was the Son of God. That was correct. Question 10, which psalm gave a first-person account of the crucifixion? Buva came in from left field and saved it with Psalm 22, and that was correct.
Yeah.
And who owned the tomb where Jesus was buried? We said Joseph of Arimathea, and that was correct. Nailed it, boys.
100%. Man. Well done, fellas.
Nicely done.
What do you think? So if normal people are getting 69, you think it's the
David questions.
It's the Old Testament stuff.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. And then a few guys guessed Josephus at the end there.
That sounds about right.
That's right.
Josephus, I think I met him before. Wasn't he from Arkansas?
Of the Arkansas Josephus.
Josephus of Arkansas.
All right, Mike, what do you got?
Okay, here we go. Dear Live from the Path. I have a friend who is an alcoholic. I met her when we first moved here 5 years ago. At that time, I wasn't aware of her drinking problem. Over the years, it's become very apparent. I have yelled at her, shown deep concern for her, threatened rehab, begged her to get help, etc. She calls me late in the evening, rambling on about ridiculous things, repeating the same stories over and over, crying, claiming she's having panic attacks and all sorts of other health ailments that are most likely caused by her drinking. Mm-hmm. I am at my wit's end with her. She's a good person and has a good heart, but I know I can't save her because she's already stated she will never stop drinking. How do I manage to keep my own sanity? I sometimes feel like I enable her by not calling her out on all her excuses for her problems when I know well they're all because of the drinking.
Can I go heavy on this for a second?
Yeah, go ahead, Boo.
Addiction comes from trauma. That's where it comes from. That's what happens. It is constantly shown over and over again that these kind of things are deep-seated. It is not just that she likes the taste of wine. That is not what happens. Something is happening that she is compensating for. She's trying to forget. She's trying to get away from. Her personality scares her. Her thoughts scare her from when she's not drunk or drinking. You have to come at this from a place that you understand those thought processes. And if you can't, get her to someone that can and back away, because you will hurt her more and more and more with these thought processes where how do you keep your sanity? Seriously? I mean, I get it. It's frustrating. There's nothing about it that isn't frustrating. But if you can't come at this with love, you can't come at this.
I mean, I think that seems unfair to Buva. I don't think that you have any indication that she didn't come at this with love. She's dealing with someone who is continuing to harm and hurt themselves over and over again with this thing.
What was her list?
And is not able to do anything about it. It doesn't feel like she's making progress.
I have yelled at her. I have threatened rehab. I listened to her ridiculous stories.
I mean,
this is all language to me that sounds like someone that's just upset about this addiction.
Nah, Buva. I think
that's what it sounds like.
I think
to me,
you need to be careful here because, your sympathy lies with the person who has the problem. I understand that.
Of course,
the person who is on the other side of it doesn't implicitly know how to deal with it either. Mm-hmm. You understand?
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I'm saying? So if someone says to themselves, "Hey, how can I help? I need to," they may not to the point that you're making. I think is something that has to be made, and that most people may not connect at the beginning, right? So what is in her mind feels like help, isn't, but she doesn't know that. You understand? She's dealing with a fresh situation too, because she's not struggling with these same things. It's harder to ask sympathy from the person who otherwise has the addiction, but just this came up in a Pope style advice before, whereas I think you have to recognize that the people dealing with folks who have addiction haven't gone through that either. It is much harder for them to understand what's going on. And so my only caution here is not that you're not saying things that aren't true, but I would be cautious about putting the full grace bucket on the person who's struggling with the addiction and not with the person who doesn't know how to help someone who is.
Okay. I get where you're coming from, but I'm not putting back at all. You could say that I'm wrong, and that's fine. But no, I do not take anything back I said. I just don't. I've seen so many people that hurt people in addictions because they get so selfish in their care. And it's ridiculous. And it makes me mad, and to be honest. It really does.
Probably because it gets a frustration on both sides. There's literally nothing I can do to help you with your addiction until you embrace it and say, I want help with my addiction. I mean, and that this person isn't willing, at least at this point, to ask or even accept they need help. And what do you do? I mean, what's the question? I'm assuming is she?
How can she keep herself from going crazy?
What was that?
How can she keep herself from losing her sanity is what she asked.
I mean, if she's worried about her sanity, she probably needs to walk away from the relationship because she can't handle it. But that doesn't help the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So are you wanting to help the situation? Then you need to. But then you can't even be with this person all day long and keep them from drinking because they have to want to not drink. You know, we've talked about that many times here, like in the food situation. Like I as I've approached my eating with an addiction, like nobody can help me, and I sit there and I know all the time, oh, I shouldn't eat this, you know, and then I eat it, you know. I mean, I have strong times and weak times, and it's just not as visible or destructive maybe as an alcohol thing, but no, there's nothing anybody can do. I mean, my wife will say, hey, you sure we can't do that? Next time she'll go, here's a piece of pie. I mean, you know,
right?
She doesn't even know how to handle me, because she also wants me to be happy. Well, what makes me happy? Pie, you know. Yeah, I'm at a loss. I'm a complete loss. I have no help. I'm terrible at this.
I think there's a mistaken arrogance in thinking that you are the linchpin to the fix, and the truth of the matter is, if you can't, if all you can do is enable, then you probably do need to back out, and nobody wants to do that.
Because you're helping destruct.
Yeah, everybody wants to be the person that helps, and like this does not sound like maybe I just took a complete different hit on it than Buva heard here, but like, I mean, I hear somebody that wants to try to help, and they're losing, and they're not helping, and now they know that they're making it worse, but like, and their gut reaction, because they're not an addict, right? Like when someone calls you that has an addiction, and they're like, I have no money, I am broke, I am sad, I am depressed. And if you don't come from a history of addiction, you go because you're an addict. And that's all the farther you can think. It'd be the same thing that says, hey, I can't drive anywhere because I'm missing one of the tires on my car. And the only thing a mechanic's going to think is, because one of your tires are missing, let's just fix that. And then we can move on, right? Like, that's all they can see. And so, like, at the end of the day, what they're asking is like, her question specifically was, how do I manage to keep my own sanity? I sometimes feel like I enable her by not calling her out on all her excuses for her problems when I know well they're because of the drinking. That is true. You do know that. If all you can do is call out the drinking, then you're probably not the right person. That's probably true. I know it's a hard position to be in, because you think that, like, if I don't help them, no one will help them, right? If no one steps in, and you're not willing to take the gamble that someone else is going to do it, so you figure, all right, if I have to be this person, then I will do it. I will do anything to help them, when the truth is they have to actually want the help. And if they want the help, then you can come back and help, and that's okay. But if they don't want the help, you can't force anybody to do anything. You just can't. And if you can't ride the waves of that addiction well, of their addiction well, then it probably is best if you bow, because their choices to make certain decisions, you don't have to tie yourself to that raft. You don't have to follow them up and follow them down and follow them up and follow them down. Those are choices that they're making, and you wish they wouldn't, and you love them, and you want them out of it, but they don't want to come out of it. And if you're not in it to ride the wave, then you should probably back out. I think that's a healthy decision for you.
So Buva, what do you mean when you say to love them? Like what is that? Was that to keep going up and down on the ride, or I mean,
honestly, kind of sometimes, yeah.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
It that stinks. That sucks. So I say this as someone who's been the addicted person, and someone that's ridden the waves of the addiction. I've been on both sides of that, and I don't mean to speak like I'm an authority, by any means. I've just been there with multiple people for 20 years. Addiction is rarely looked at as the symptom versus the problem. Addiction is usually looked at as the problem that needs to be fixed. Whereas most of the time, the addiction is actually a symptom of something deeper. And when you can start getting to that concept,
there's some pain.
Yes,
they're trying to medicate.
Right,
they're
they're compensating for something that isn't there, or something that is there that they don't want there. I read articles all the time, and actually, my fiance and her mother are good on this too. And I'm constantly feed this kind of stuff. I try and read both points of the arguments, but addiction rarely comes. I won't say never because that's impossible, but it rarely comes from a place that it isn't started with trauma. Whether that's childhood trauma, whether that's trauma that's happened recently, whatever. There's something that causes that person to have that substance of whatever kind it is. Addictions of all kinds, right? They're not just substance abuse. Addictions of all kinds usually come from some place where they're either missing something that they didn't get as a child or didn't get as an adult, or they're missing something in their brain right now that is being compensated by the addiction. And so when you start to recognize that if all you ever do is try and combat the addiction, all you're doing is fighting the symptoms of a bigger thing, instead of actually trying to get down to the nitty-gritty stuff. I lived with a serious and severe addiction for almost a decade without recognizing where it actually came from.
So does
people rode those waves with me.
Sure. Does a friend then sit down and try to just ask deeper questions? Like, hey, what's going on?
Sometimes, if you can, yes.
Mm-hmm.
If you can understand that sometimes it's important for them to because a lot
without
of times,
acting like you're trying to fix them, but just as a friend, hey, what's going on?
With a lot of times with those addictions, you don't know where they came from.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know where mine came from until I really started breaking them down. My mother was an alcoholic. My father was an addict because of stuff that he dealt with. My brother was a high addict. Our entire family has been rooted with this for as long as I can remember. All of our addictions started with some kind of trauma. And I know dozens of family would deal with this kind of stuff. I have friends who deal with this kind of stuff. And where you recognize that sometimes people just don't know where it comes from. They'll recognize that it's a problem. Rarely ever do addicts, when they actually are in a moment of clarity, do they actually think that their problem is not actually a problem. Mostly, and of course, there's going to be times when they're like, oh, I don't want to fix anything like that. They may not want to fix it, but that does not mean they don't recognize there's a problem, okay? There are plenty of times when people don't. I get that. But sometimes you just don't know where it stems from, and you don't know what hurt caused it. You don't know what you missed. You don't know what you're lacking. Asking those people to get help, going with them to get that help. Offer to go to an AA meeting with somebody. Seriously. I know that seems cheesy, and I know that seems like you're pushing off to somebody else, but a lot of the times that's important to do, because then you get somebody that goes, I don't ever want to go alone. I'm never going to bring it up. But if someone walks up to me and goes, hey, I love you with all of my heart. I want us to be in a spot where we can start understanding this. What about an AA meeting? You don't have to talk. I won't even talk. We'll just go to listen and start that kind of stuff. Start the conversation with that person and try and get them some help. For me, it was people around me that offered for me to go to counseling. And if I can be so, Dan, it was you. Like, you offered me that as a thing. And I am in a place now where I understand my addiction more than I ever had, because I went and talked about it to a professional. And I don't usually vie for professional help immediately, but like sometimes with this stuff, it's important for them to go to an unbiased person to just tell them, even if it's just recanting your own story. My delirium, my craziness was, I didn't think I had a problem. And my addiction, I felt, wasn't really an issue, to the point that like I was even downplaying my own story. Like I thought it was not a big deal. I didn't really go through that much and stuff like that. The therapist that I was seeing literally had to say my story, third person, and pretend like it wasn't my own story. They literally had to tell me my story. And I went, oh my gosh, that's awful. I can't believe someone went through that. Like how do they live? Like that's crazy. And then he literally went, dude, that's you. And I'm like, oh no, wait. Yeah, it is. That's literally me. And it was that moment where I'm just like, this is so much more deep-seated than I ever thought. Because in my brain, before I really got help that I needed, I rationalized that I never had this until after my dad passed away. I never had this until he passed away, so it must have been that. And so I was treating for that kind of thought process. But then that didn't really understand the concept that my trauma really started happening 10 years before that. And when I started working through that to the point where I was a child and I didn't get my parents certainly tried to give me the love that I needed, but like I didn't have safety or security at all. So my brain goes now to where most of my addiction comes from the thought process of I feel unsafe and I feel lack of security. And my emotional security is therefore adamented by eating. And so I go, okay, I'm compensating for something that happened 20 years ago. I'm not saying that's everyone's story, but you'd be surprised by the amount of people that this addiction stems from something that they may not even understand. And so I apologize for jumping at that so hardcore. Ben, you're absolutely right. I need to give more grace to the people that are trying to help these people also. Sorry about that. I get a little heated in this, and I apologize. But I think that people that try and go at this are so ill-prepared for what they're going to have to go through.
That's exactly why you show them grace. They
And
don't know what
you're
to
absolutely,
do.
and that's why, as I'm saying that, you're absolutely right. Which is where I'm at. There are people that are so ill-prepared to understand where actual trauma comes from and legitimate addiction comes from.
That's
and
why we say and do dumb things. We don't know how people.
Oh, absolutely.
Help people grieve.
It's the same story as
Yeah.
someone looking at me 10 years ago and going, God's got a plan for this. They had a good heart, but they had no idea how to talk to me. And it's the same situation. It's myself from 10 years ago talking to my mother, who's an alcoholic. I was hurt every time she would run back to alcohol. I was hurt. I don't tell the nitty-gritty parts of this a lot, but like my mother attempted suicide probably a dozen times. And it was after binge drinking for weeks that she would go back to that. And she would always get help, and she would go to the hospital, and we would have to be in the hospital with her for a day or two. And then she'd come back home, and we'd be like, we're never going to do that again. And mom's going to go back to AA, and she's never going to drink again. But within 6 months, like clockwork, she would be drinking again. We would find Mountain Dew bottles full of vodka. We would find the fifths of vodka that she got drunk and then hid in the garage and couldn't remember where she hid them because she did it when she was drunk. And we would start seeing that. And within 3 weeks of that, she would usually make an attempt on her life. And so every single time, now I was a child also, but every single time I would get upset. And I'd be like, Mom, why would you do this? How could you do this to me? This is ridiculous. You keep doing this over and over again. All the rhetoric we've all heard.
Right.
And what I didn't realize was there were things that happened to my mother years before any of this happened. Trauma that broke her as a child and as an adult that kept hurting. And it was this deep-seated evil pain and trauma in her brain that did not allow her to function the way that she should have. To this day, I wish that I knew then what I know now about addiction and where this stems from. All we did was medicate the addiction. That's all we ever did for her. All we ever broke down was, are mom's meds right? Is her brain chemistry being corrected by these medications? Hopefully so, and then move on. My mother never sought out any kind of help. She didn't go to counselors to try and understand this stuff. And it happened every time, no matter what the medication was, no matter what positive things were happening in her life, a normal person would be able to cling to and go, hey, there are positive things happening. I can dissociate with all the trauma. I can stay on the positive things. Her brain didn't work that way. It wasn't wired to do so. I wish that I could go back to myself 15 years ago when I was 13 and say, dude, just break down that wall of understanding that addiction comes from a trauma that she does not understand, nor do you. Get her legitimate help. And not a single person did that. And it kills me.
So I think that's probably the major point there, because I mean, of all the things that Boo said about addiction, it's all correct, right? But like, just as in that exact same situation, he was not equipped to do
right.
this.
Yes.
The person asking this question is just flat out not equipped
Right.
to do it, right? And what is unfair is for you as the person that's attempting to help. Once again, it was my opening gambit, and it wasn't meant to be an insult, but like, it is arrogant thinking to think that you are the person for the job if you're not. If you're not the person for the job, you're not the person for the job. And you can't let the addict tell you that you're the person for the job, because they don't know. They're not seeing life. They're not seeing life correctly, right? So if you're not, you're not. It's just taking a sobering look at what's going on here, right? Like, no one's talking about you not playing a supporting role here. No one's talking about you abandoning them. But like, if you are not the person to walk them through this addiction, don't act like you are. And don't you are going to have to set up a boundary here and there.
Yes.
And you are going to have to stick with it. And it's okay. It's okay. It doesn't mean you don't love them. If you have a hard time not enabling them, it's safe to set up boundaries. You're doing what's best for them and what's best for you, and that's okay. They don't have to stay in place forever. Boundaries are of your own design. You can set them up and you can take them down. They're not lifelong banishments. They're not lifelong. You will never come to my house again. These kind of things. These are way over the tops, right? Because there's a person in there, and there's a person in there that's hurting. That's the end of the story.
Right.
There's a person in there that's hurting, and they're trying to fill a hole with the wrong thing, and you know that, and you know that you're not the person to help them out of it. All you can do is offer, and if they say no, all you can do is offer again. You can't offer to do the wrong thing for them, but you can always. It's a pretty classic statement that Ben will use is like, I will always help you do the right thing. Whatever the right thing is, I will always help you do that. I will not help you do the wrong thing.
Right.
So it doesn't matter what condition you're in. If you're drunk, if you're dead sober, if you're broke, if you got money coming out your ears, I will always help you do the right thing. I will not help you do the wrong thing. And the thing is the guy or gal that has your head on straight in this situation, you get to decide what right and wrong is. And you better be pretty good at it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you better be pretty solid about it. Just because you do it doesn't make it right. That's the hard thing, right? It's like when most people I've seen that try to model or try to help an addiction, they'll be like, the yardstick is me. If you're not doing what I would do, then you're living wrong. And that's not true. That's not the way that works, right? All kinds of people live all kinds of different ways. We're just talking about the right thing, as in it's not the wrong thing. I'm not going to help you destroy yourself. I will help you. I will help you do something good, or I will get you to somebody that will help you do something good. But I will not help you do a bad thing. I won't help you swim in a cesspool. That is not what I'm going to do, and that's okay. That's an okay boundary. So to sum all that up, if you're coming at this with a humble servant's heart in the deal, and you're being overwhelmed, just realize that you are not the linchpin to this whole operation. Get yourself some help. Right? There's nothing wrong with going to what's that? It's not Al-Anon or AA.
Oh, the Celebrate Recovery?
Celebrate Recovery.
Yeah.
Go without them. Go without them. Get some tools. Get equipped to do it. And after you go to Celebrate Recovery and you go, boy, I'm not the guy for this. Cool. You met a bunch of people
Exactly.
that are.
Yes.
You met a bunch of boovas hanging around that can help explain some stuff to you and help you understand where they're coming from. And you realize your relationship with them will change when their name comes up on your phone or you see them at your door and the first thing you don't think is alcoholic.
Right.
Because there is a guy in there and there's a girl in there and you love them. You really do love them. But their addiction is causing a huge wedge in the way that this thing is operating, and you don't know what to do. And you've probably said the wrong thing and done the wrong thing and overreacted, and all that's, you're working through it. So if you're coming at it humbly, get some help and figure out what you're going to do. If you're coming at it as in, I'm better than you are because I'm not an addict, you should just get out. You're not helping. You're not helping at all. That's not a good way to live. Secular's advice? Secular says, I have 2 suggestions for you, and I hope you will avail yourself of both. The first is to go online to alanon.org to find the nearest location for meetings. You will find they are all over, and attend some. Al-Anon is a sister organization of Alcoholics Anonymous, and it was founded to help and support the friends of family members of people who have an alcohol problem. It will help you to understand that you cannot help your friend. Only she can do that by mustering up the resolve to quit drinking. I don't agree with that 100%. Many alcoholics do this only after they finally realize the consequences their addiction has cost them. In this case, the price may be her friendship with you. The second is to tell your friend, while she is sober, that she cannot continue calling you when she has been drinking, and that if she does, you will hang up. Then do it. She said the same things we said a little bit. Boundaries are okay. Boundaries are okay. And I don't know. I know enough addicts to know and have a somewhat of an addictive personality myself that resolve is about worth what I can south wind. You know what I'm saying? Resolve sucks. I don't know. In fact, to be honest, I don't know how to live this life without the hope of Jesus Christ. My resolve is horrible. Horrible. I cannot do the right thing continuously by myself. That is how we ended up in a cracked world. God said as much. There's some people that it's not struggle for them. If they decide they're just going to up and quit smoking one day, they'll just do it, and it's not a big deal. They'll suffer in silence, and that's it. They come out like a breeze on the other end. That is not my condition. That is not the condition of most people I know. They want more than anything not to feel the hurt that they're feeling. And they want more than anything not to turn to whatever substance they're using to dull it. And then they fail, and then they feel horrible about themselves, and then they hide, and then they do it all over again. And so, like, if it was based on resolve on their own, I don't think it's possible. Now, if there's any hope in that, you only have to resolve once to get help. That is long-lasting, and that will feed, and it will fail sometimes, and you'll go back for more help. That's what help is. Help is people that want to help you, right? But like if you think you're going to stomach it on your own on your couch or whatever, I've not seen a high success rate with that.
All right, we got one more.
Oh yeah, you want to do another?
That
one?
was a big one.
Okay, you want me to see if I can find a comedy?
I mean, you can't guarantee any comedy.
Oh boy. I haven't read these. Here we go. Dear Life from the Path, my 53-year-old brother had an affair 8 years ago.
8 years ago?
Yeah, comedy.
Yeah, this is funny.
He and his wife have 4 children. When he
Oh.
told his wife about it, they started sleeping in separate bedrooms.
Yep.
She stays with him for the kids' sake and for financial reasons. The other woman, quotes Rachel, recently contacted him saying she has cancer and has no family who want to take care of her. He put her up in his cabin in the mountains and hasn't told his wife.
Oh.
He asked what I thought, and honestly, I feel that although I'm sad for Rachel, my brother should put his wife before his concern for this other woman. I'm angry with him for what he's doing to his wife. What should he do?
Well, he's not having an affair with her, probably.
No. Seriously, you want to replay Love Your Enemies? The wife has every reason to hate every bit of this.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, boy.
Here's the deal. I dig the action.
Yeah.
I totally do.
Is it
I totally
terminal
dig the
cancer?
action of
I
like
mean-
taking care of her and putting her up in a place. That's freaking awesome. But like,
I mean,
dangerous.
but dangerous. But then, you know what's not dangerous though? Bringing your wife into it.
Yeah.
Like you and your wife standing together as a freaking couple, like it was designed to be. Loving people the way that a marriage is supposed to. It's supposed to be a celebration of the way that we have relationship with Christ. Guess what? You can show that for a mistress. How freaking awesome is that as an opportunity for a husband and a wife to come together as a covenant before God himself
And then she
and
says
show
no.
that love?
She says no, boo. We're not going to do that.
I mean, that would be an amazing story.
That's what I'm saying. That's
That'd be
that's an
really
amazing story. She's
Yeah.
probably going to say no.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know that I blame her.
Of course not.
I don't know that I blame her. But
That's human.
you want to show God's redemptive spirit
Yeah.
and never-ending grace. That
freaking
is what
huge.
that looks like.
I'm just trying to picture this though. Oh, so he has her in a cabin, but it's like so is she like? Does she have people helping her? Is she in that much of need? Does she just need a place to sleep during chemo? What does that mean?
I don't know. It does seem kind of odd. Like if you have cancer, and it's
Well,
terminal,
the
you would
mountains-
figure you're in a hospital, or you know.
I mean, yeah. There's got to
It
be
might-
there's more.
Yeah, true, but it might not have gotten to that point.
Yeah, maybe she's just
Maybe she
getting
just
treatment.
can't work and needs a place to stay that she doesn't have to pay rent at.
My wife had cancer. She had surgery and then recovered for 8 weeks. I can't remember how many.
Right.
And then she went back to work.
Yeah.
And never just haven't had. Is
Yeah, right.
Is it that? Then there's a temporary thing. Is it she went there to die? That's what I don't know. But she needs to have. He needs to have the wife.
Yeah,
This is the wife's cabin too.
It would have been you've already loused this up, friend, by doing
Right.
it without telling her.
exactly.
If you were going to do this, you would have had to have sat down with your wife and
Right.
organized it and said,
And it
"This
could've
is
been
what
awesome.
I would like to do. I realize how offensive and distasteful this is, but I feel like it's the right
Let's read
thing."
Matthew, honey.
Just read Oh,
Oh,
it goes
man.
down hard. That is a tough. That is a hard word.
Holy cats.
Yeah, I don't think you can keep doing it in secret, though.
Well,
No.
absolutely not. No.
Yeah,
yeah,
you
definitely
just
not.
you
You
can't.
have to
That's
bring
off
your
the
wife in.
table. So this is the brother who's angry at his husband at his brother for doing
Good.
this.
And it's still, but yeah, at the same time, it's none of his business. I mean, it is, but it's like.
I feel like if my brother was making this kind of choice, I would be at him.
I mean, I'd be at him. But I wouldn't be writing, your life in the past.
Well, agreed. Yeah, I don't think that we would do that.
I mean, here's the deal. Like, let's
call
say
the police.
I was trying to do the same thing. call
the police and go to marriage
Have them
counseling.
intercede.
Marriage counseling, call the police.
So I would expect you guys, at the very least, to say, Mike, what you're doing is sinful, and you're going to tell your wife, and I'm
Yeah.
going
Yeah, right.
to make sure you're going to do it, and I'll
Yes.
call you tomorrow, make sure you did it.
Yep.
And so, sneaking around him and going to the wife is not a good way to live.
No.
But like as a guy, obviously, I mean, there's no allegiance to King Jesus here, so you can't enforce it. But I have it, and so if I was doing this, you'd say, look, you and I are following the same Jesus, and part of that deal is you're going to tell your wife, and you're going to straighten that out right now.
Let me ask you this. Is there ever a point that it's okay to go to the wife? After multiple times trying to get the husband to do it, is there
brother?
is there ever a point when the brother goes to the wife?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
I do. I mean, if you give this dude opportunity I'm not saying do this for 10 years and then go, by the way, Sheila, Terry's been doing this for 10 years. Like that's,
I mean, here's the thing with sneaky living is I won't ever lie, right? And there's no way the brother gets through every conversation without saying, there's a woman up in your cabin. You know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't seen Ted in a couple days. Any idea where he's at? He's up at the cabin with the woman he's got living there. I won't lie to cover it up. That's for certain. So, like, I suppose that, like, but that's completely based on circumstance. Right. So I don't know if that gets passed either.
Yeah. I think the hard part is that if you say it's okay to talk to the wife, you open the door to the wrong types of people, right? Who will abuse that. Now, it doesn't mean that I don't think it's right. I actually think there's nothing about their marriage that and his refusal to do the right thing by what is in all acts, not even just a sister in Christ, but a sister of mine. Right. If it is very clear that he is going to persist, like, this should be the most humble thing you've ever taken and the biggest bird you've ever carried. But I don't think that it is off the board for you after a time where if he refuses to deal with this for you to say something about it.
Okay.
I just don't. I was trying to think, like, when you have questions like that, just put it in the extreme. Is it okay for you to know this and she never knows this, and you know that he's mistreating this person who you also care for? Right. No, that's not acceptable. And nothing about them being married says, well, you can have someone could be lying to you and mistreating you, and it's all right with me because you're married to my brother. That doesn't work for me either.
Right.
So no. But I would say, like, that has got to be the very last straw. Agreed. Of you trying to get. It's the same reason where you would have, say, where people get divorced. It's the very end of a line of trying to get people to do the right thing here, to reconcile, to handle their problems appropriately, for two people to take responsibility for the thing and work on it. And frankly, you might run that for 10 years until there's an end of the line. But I think there is probably a point where, like, if someone is completely, actually, if you could take the two witnesses, if he's completely unrepentant and refuses to do it, then actually I think you're probably open for business here.
Yeah. Because
he's going to have to explain himself as to why he got chucked out, why he's being treated this way. And he should, but if he's not going to, I don't think it's say, well, like, I have to honor his what? What am I actually honoring by not telling her? I'm dishonoring her.
Right.
And I'm honoring a sluggard and a doofus.
Yeah.
For what? I'm not protecting him from anything that he. That's the other thing, and this has come up in a few conversations over my life where people get really upset that say that someone may have told you something that they didn't want them to know. But, like, I rarely ever blame the person who brought the information. If it's true, the problem was that it happened. And it's always better if you're dealing things in reality. And so. It's almost never the messenger. And to the extent that you're like, I cannot believe you told, the first question you have to ask yourself is, really, I cannot believe that I did and that someone found out of it and I'm ashamed. I get that. It's just human to see that. It's not necessarily the messenger's problem, though. Like, if they didn't have a story to tell, you wouldn't be in this position.
Right.
So, yeah, I think it's all right to tell the wife. Handle it biblically, and then I think it's okay to tell the wife, especially if they have kids.
Secular says.
Actually, I take away that distinction. It's all right to tell its wife across the board. It's irrelevant whether they have kids.
Agreed. Secular says, I assume that when your brother confided what he was doing, you gave him your thoughts on it. If you didn't, you should. I find it telling that the person asking me what he should do is you and not him. Rather than try to run interference for him, recognize the ball's in his court, and he has to decide for himself what he should or should not do because he is playing a very dangerous game.
That wasn't advice.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just commented on the situation.
Yeah, her advice was to stay out of it. It's his business, not your business.
I mean, It's a little arrogant to go, he should have written me.
Right. Yeah, I'm surprised you're the one that's telling on this situation and not him.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't that be true for every situation where anybody's asked advice, that there's someone on the other side of it who also probably could be asking for some advice?
Any third parties, it should be at least a second.
Right.
Just let it go, huh? Stay. What is that? That's not what I wanted. What are the consequences then, I guess? Like, what if he follows that advice? What's the worst output?
That she gets better. He lets her out of the mountain house. She goes back to living.
That's the worst case, Mike?
or she dies there, or
The wife
worst
finds
case
out
is
somehow.
she survives cancer and leaves?
Well, I'm trying to figure out like how, like
Has a
in his
normal, healthy
mind,
life.
how does he think this is gonna work? Like you gonna move an entire person into your mountain house? What is Mountain Week? Where you and your wife are supposed to go to the mountains? You're like, by the way, there's a woman there. She's
Oh, no, there's a lady here. I don't recognize her from the fact that I cheated on you with her 8 years ago.
right.
Here's
Oh,
the
that's
thing.
crazy.
So maybe here's the question: Is it acceptable as a Christian dude to say, "Look, I don't hide bodies.
Yeah.
I don't hide body. I don't do it." So you want to tell me that you have a body in the trunk? Great. I can help you with fixing this situation by turning you in and having you tell the right people that you did this thing. I'm in for that to help
Right.
you, but
Yeah.
I don't hide bodies.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think that's perfectly fair.
Agreed.
There's nothing that says you have to keep a confidence like that.
Once again, I will help you do the right thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
I will not help you do the wrong thing.
Yep.
If you committed a crime, I will take you to the police station and you will turn yourself
Yeah,
in.
I will be happy
That
to
is
help
fine.
you turn yourself in.
That's right. I will help you muster the courage to face the right thing.
Yep.
And support you as you face the right thing. But as you try to cover up the wrong thing, I will not be a party to it.
Yeah, love is not in the concept of eliminating consequences. It's just not. It doesn't work that way.
Well, even Jesus' love doesn't do that.
Right.
There's no
There's still
reason that our love
consequences.
is better because we think we can hide consequences.
Right.
So wait, so in that is, let's go to the body hider. You obviously he says, "Look, no, I'm not going to go to the police. You going to turn him in?
Yes.
If he refuses, are you going to turn? Sure, you are.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, that's offense against the state and probably whoever's related to the body. I don't. The wife doesn't seem any different to me.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's
What
it.
if it's a salt and pepper shaker from your grandma's house?
Turn him in. What? Grandma, Ben took him.
I refuse to take it back to grandma's.
You guys are the ones downloading that app where you tell the government when there's people out there not social distancing.
Is there an app for that?
Yeah.
Now, see, I have no comment on that because it's likely to get me in trouble. And people, do you actually use the text line?
Hey, that sounds good. What is the number for the text line?
It's 515-517-0085. That's the Bob Eisenhower 6 feet away, live from the path text line.
Bob Eisenhower's social distancing
The
hotline.
eyes and whoa. Back it
Yeah,
up.
I don't think so. 515-517-0085. Give us a call or a text. Tell us where we got this wrong. Tell us where we got it right. Tell us you living. We'll be glad to hear all three. All right, let's see. I think that's all we got. Big stuff coming on the show next week. So big that I won't tell you till we get here. In the meantime, be faithful in the means. God will handle the ends. You've been listening to Live from the Path.